Hello guys, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Amanda Show. First of all, I wanted to say, did you see the crowds that came out in support of Ibrahim Traoré some days ago? Well, those who tried to push the ball, to raise up, should I use the word, to raise up anger and conflict over Ibrahim Traoré have just lost. So in this episode of the Amanda Show, of course, we are going to discuss what built up to the protest in support of Ibrahim Traoré we just saw a few days ago. What built up to that? Because that was when the US head of AFRICOM came out to say some really nasty things about the president of Burkina Faso. Then from Burkina Faso, we are going to move over to post-Gaddafi Libya. I've been thinking recently that did NATO and those who did what they did to Gaddafi, did they have their dreams come true? You know, at one point it may have looked like, yes, they did have their dreams come true. But the way things have turned around, I'm beginning to doubt it. So long before now, that was some weeks ago, there was this former member of Congress that sat down with Tucker Carlson, and he just, during that discussion, he just on the side, he mentioned Gaddafi and what led to the fall of Gaddafi, which I want us to discuss again today. Because when they went out against Gaddafi, they wanted to kill something, not just the man, but they wanted to kill something. I think that for a while, it seemed that that thing was dead, but it just resurrected. Well, thank you so much for joining me this episode. These are the things we're going to discuss today. And in case you're new here, my name is Amanda Akalono. And on this show, the Amanda Show, we discuss geopolitics from an African perspective. You can like this video, subscribe to this channel, and strap up because I have an exciting show for you today. Thank you for joining me, and let's get started. The first week of April started just normal, like every other month. But something happened in the Senate, United States Senate, that seemed to have pushed the world's attention to Africa. And that was when the head of AFRICOM, I think his name is Langley, yes, Langley. Well, he went into the Senate and was already hearing in the Senate, and he mentioned that, that they were asking him questions about the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. And then he came out to say that the president of Burkina Faso is using the gold of Burkina Faso to protect his regime. He's using it to protect his regime, and it doesn't go, the resources of Burkina Faso, but particularly the gold that we're discussing about, the gold doesn't go on to support the people of, like the resources doesn't go to support the people of Burkina Faso. That was a very big mistake he made, because on social media, Africans shredded him. And the beautiful thing about it, that it wasn't just Africans in Africa. This kind of a thing you'd have just thought it was just going to be, say, Burkina Faso, right? But the whole Africa rallied behind Ibrahim Traoré. And it wasn't just rallying around Ibrahim Traoré in Africa. We saw it around the world. We saw it in Jamaica. We saw it even in the United States, like Africans in the diaspora. We saw it there across the world, in France, a lot of places. Africans were saying, don't you dare call Ibrahim Traoré. I think without Traoré realizing it, he has become the president of Africa. So I want to, first of all, before I go into the protest that then came up, I want to then talk about the accusations that Langley made. Because first of all, he says they're using the gold of Burkina Faso to protect Traoré's regime. And then the resources of Burkina Faso are not going on to benefit the people of Burkina Faso. That's a blatant lie. Because this is the first time in history under Traoré that Burkina Faso is beginning to mine its gold. Normally, the way it has worked before Traoré, this recent one, the gold will be mined by Western companies and taken out of Burkina Faso to be refined somewhere else and get into the global market. Burkina Faso was making pennies from its resources. You say, was it benefiting people of Burkina Faso back then? The poverty in Burkina Faso, the education, all these issues, was it benefiting them before? But it is under Traoré that Burkina Faso is now refining its gold. This is the first time. The first time that Burkina Faso is refining its gold, meaning that gold is not taken out raw from Burkina Faso anymore. No. They're refining it, and it's adding, this is now added value, so that Burkina Faso can make a lot more money than it was making before. And now you're seeing that the money that the government of Burkina Faso is making, we are seeing them put it into agriculture. All this policies they are putting in place for agriculture, so that a lot more farmers are coming in, because Burkina Faso wants to become independent, self-sufficient. So we are seeing it going there. We are seeing the hospitals is opening. We are seeing the what they call it, the medical vehicles that Traoré is bringing into the country, benefiting the people. So the reason why they pointed out Burkina Faso is not because that Traoré was not doing well for his country. No, it's because the neocolonialism exploitation of Burkina Faso has ceased under Traoré, and they don't like it. That's what it is. It's the same way they were calling Gaddafi. Gaddafi is not helping the people of Libya. Gaddafi dictator. Gaddafi did this. Gaddafi did that. They use that as pretext. They need to use that as pretext to get into Libya. After I got into Libya, I destroyed Libya. Those people in Libya and other African countries and around the world that were rallying and buying the lies that NATO was pushing through the media, they believed it. A lot of people really believed that Gaddafi was a problem. They believed it. But now, look at Libya today. The electricity Libya had, the wealth Libya had, the education of its people that Libya had, they almost living their health, access to health that Libyans had. All these things are gone. What's going on now? Outsiders are coming in because Libya is a failed state. They don't have a central government. Every now and then, even this broken up government, they are fighting each other. Terrorists are running rampant in Libya. Now, all outsiders are easily coming in, and they're taking the oil and the resources of Libya to their benefit. This is what they want to do with Burkina Faso. Don't be deceived. What would have happened was, oh, this guy Langley will say that in the Senate. Then after a while, we begin to see in the Western media, and not just Western media, because even now, if you look at it, even within our local media platforms in all across Africa, we still parrot the Western narrative, the State Department narrative. So when the Western media reports it, we'll parrot it as the truth. So what would have happened is, after he said that, Langley said what he said in the Senate hearing, then after a while the media will begin to push out stories. Dictator Ibrahim Traoré, suppressing his people Traoré needs to be arrested. We need to come together to help the people of Burkina Faso. The people of Burkina Faso are begging for democracy. They are not begging for democracy. They tried it, it did not work. They tried it, it did not work. So that's what have happened. So by the time they mess up his image with their dirty media, they will now use that as a pretext to say they are sending in help just to overthrow. In fact, before this, just as this was happening in the Senate, right, there was an attempted coup, an assassination of Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso. Yes, just as this whole thing was going on, they attempted it, but they failed. So that's the backdrop of this thing, right? Oh, what I loved, oh my God, I loved that Africans, first of all, it began with Africans in Africa, right? It started with Africans in Africa, and we began to push back that this is a lie. We didn't even wait for official government narrative. No, we began to push back. This is a lie. We're speaking. Then I noticed that many of these media political analysts, right, in the media that I usually listen to in the United States, some of them will begin to bring people to discuss, okay, let's discuss Burkina Faso. So we pulled attention. Oh, Africans, you made me proud. We pulled attention that what Langley had said in the Senate was a lie. We pulled attention to it. In fact, I listened to like 3 different American commentators who never discuss Africa in general. They never discuss it. Although these are Black Americans, right? Africans in diaspora. So they were now saying, let's talk about Burkina Faso. And it's important. Why that is really important is because before they could push out the lies they wanted to push out, because usually this is the plan they go with, before they could push out the lies they wanted to push out with their media, we had taken control of the narrative. And Africans did this with social media. You see, this is why I always tell you that let's not ignore media, because it's counter for counter. Right. So when this whole thing began to happen, then we saw protests in favor of Ibrahim Traoré. Listen what I want to say as I'm rounding up this section. Right. I like to protest I liked the way we countered it in media. But what I want to say is, I think it's maybe it hasn't dawned on them, but if they were smart, those who have exploited Africa, these neo-colonialists, if they were smart, they would realize that with this, what just happened with Ibrahim Traoré, they would realize that the world has changed. Africans are not stupid anymore. Because before, like they did with Gaddafi, which I'm coming into the second section of this video, before they could say some things and we're like, oh, I would just believe them. We would just believe them. But now it just seemed like since 2022, although it's not completely widespread, but since 2022, it seems like the scales have fallen off the eyes of Africans. We're beginning to see things like the way they really are. We're beginning to see those who came to act like sheeps, right? We're beginning to see that no, these people are actually vipers. And it's so good. It's so good. Because Ibrahim Traoré, right, is not just the president of Burkina Faso. And yes, I know he's the unelected president of Africa. If you ask Africans to choose, they'll say he should be the president of Africa. But Ibrahim Traoré has become the face of the resistance. The resistance to oppression, the resistance to neocolonialism, the resistance to exploitative behavior, exploitative business and business treaties. He has become the face of the resistance. So going after Ibrahim Traoré it's not necessarily they're going after just Traoré. Going after Traoré would have meant they wanted to send a message to any other person within Africa or anywhere around the world who dares to have visions of a sovereign country. Sovereign politically, sovereign economically, sovereign socially and culturally. It would have been a message. But Africans took control of that narrative because Ibrahim Traoré has become the face of the resistance. Resistance to oppression, resistance to neocolonialism, resistance to, the way of life that I think it has happened for several centuries, right? But I think that somehow in 2022, I keep saying it, when Russia marched into Ukraine, I don't think Putin and the leadership of Russia had an idea how much they were going to be responsible for the fractioning of the world. I don't think they had an idea, because it is as a result of this fractioning that we Africans are getting access to more important information, right? And that information is now going on to awaken us for us to really, really understand the way the world works. All of that shenanigans, all of that lies, all of that acting like a saint, right, is over. We can see the empire for what it is. The empire has reared its fangs, and Africans are not afraid to face it square on. And Ibrahim Traoré is just one of the many resistant voices coming on in Africa. So let me know what you think about the support that Ibrahim Traoré received, which I am so excited about. Or share your thoughts and your opinion with me in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with everybody you care about so that they can understand the changes taking place in Africa. And if you want to support the work that I'm doing here, feel free to use the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description, and it's also on the screen. Thank you so much. Back in 2011, NATO marched into Libya. They rained bombs. They destroyed the country. They damaged infrastructure. But perhaps the most important thing for them was the murder of Gaddafi. But it wasn't just, if it was just murder, right? It would have been, Africans have always had our leaders assassinated. But it wasn't just that. It was first the disrespect, right? It was first the wicked, Africa will never forget. It was first the wicked, disrespectful, I'm trying to pick my words, but let's just say they wanted to humiliate Gaddafi first, and they humiliated him on camera, because the radicals NATO used, they videoed all these things. The humiliation of Gaddafi. They posted it online before they finally killed him. So, well, when they did that in Libya. They always said, oh, we are doing it to help the people of Libya. Gaddafi is not good for Libya. And don't ever forget, it was under Obama. Don't ever forget it. Obama sanctioned that. Anyway, we're doing it for the people of Libya. The people of Libya are looking for democracy. The Gaddafi is a dictator. Oh, because he's a dictator, he never wants to leave office. He wants to stay in office forever. He wants to rule Libya with an iron fist and use the resources of Libya for his benefit. Blah, blah. They lied through their teeth. And many of us believed them. Well, those people who came out to say, no, this is not true. Gaddafi is actually willing to leave. He's actually willing to negotiate with the United States, because I think he and Obama were even friends. He's willing to negotiate with the United States. Blah, 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 blah. And we called those people conspiracy theorists. When they were saying, this is not about Libya. This is about American empire. This is about securing access to Libya's resources. We called all those people conspiracy. Well, we call them propagators of conspiracy theories. Well, it turned out they were right. Many years later, it turned out they were right. Because some weeks ago, Tucker Carlson had a conversation with a former member of the United States Congress. And in their conversation, one thing he mentioned, right? He mentioned it on the side. It was quite brief, but I think it's the most important aspect of that conversation between Tucker Carlson and this former member of Congress. Was it Congress or Senate? Anyway, I think it's the most important part of that conversation that any African should care about, was that he said it clearly. He said that he was part of the delegation that went to Libya to discuss, and Gaddafi gave him a letter. He hand-delivered that letter to Washington. And in the letter, Gaddafi said he's willing to negotiate, that he's willing to come to terms with the United States, because even back then, there were talks that Gaddafi is saying, okay, fine, we can have elections. If it's elections that is what you were looking for, we can have elections. But this man said he hand-delivered the letter from Gaddafi himself to Washington. And then Tucker Carlson said, so why did they kill Gaddafi? Then he said, because Gaddafi was working on a united Africa, on an economic front, with a currency backed up by gold. That was the problem. That was the problem. He wanted a currency backed up by gold that Africans would use, effectively, well, getting rid of the dollar. And if you know anything about the United States, they do not joke with their dollar. The empire doesn't joke with their dollar, because that dollar is a tool for economic supremacy. Let me use that word. So Gaddafi had some dreams that the empire couldn't tolerate. So clearly, it wasn't just about getting rid of Gaddafi. It was getting rid of a dream. It was that dream that the man had was the threat. It wasn't just Gaddafi. So they had to kill him, but not just kill him, they had to humiliate him first. That humiliation of Gaddafi that they videoed and posted online, that humiliation was supposed to serve as a warning to anybody in Africa who dared to have a dream. Who dared to have a dream of the economic liberation of Africa outside of the US dollar. That was to tell you, if you dare to think of sovereignty, if you dare to think of economic liberation and freedom, see Gaddafi's fate is what is awaiting you. So for why I'm bringing this up is because I've been spending time, ever since I listened to that podcast, I've been spending time thinking, but did Gaddafi's dream really go? Did it? I think for a while it looked like, yes, this dream was gone, because everywhere was just quiet. Because they knew the empire was not going to joke with you if you dared to do things that, even if it benefited you, the empire didn't think it needed. So what I'm saying this is because for a while it seemed like, yes, that NATO had their way. They killed Gaddafi, they killed his dream, everything is gone. But somehow I look, the more I think about this now, with the current state of the world we are living in, the more I realize that they may have killed the man, just as it is always in history. If you look through history, it's the same thing you see. They may have killed the man, but the vision never died. It seemed for a while it died, but it did not die. Why am I saying it? What is the vision that Gaddafi had? Africa, let us unite economically, right, with a currency backed up by gold. Let us unite outside of the US dollar. It was supposed to be an African thing, but what are we seeing with BRICS today? What are we seeing with BRICS today? BRICS are discussing trading outside of US dollar. We just saw China and Brazil come together and say, oh, we're coming together, we're doing this thing, let us get to work, trading outside the US dollar. Every time Trump is complaining, oh, we are going to tell them, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, you cannot play with the dollar. All the noise they are making is that dollar. But the beautiful thing is, what Gaddafi started, and they thought they killed in Gaddafi, that was in 2011. This is 2025, and that vision is pushing full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. Look at it, from India to even Nigeria, South Africa, Brazil. Like, Brazil is the current chair of BRICS. So BRICS foreign ministers, they just had a meeting in Brazil. One of the things they were discussing is trading outside the US. Okay, look at China and Russia. China and Russia, their trade today is outside the US dollar. They're not using dollar for anything. Most of their transaction is not with dollar. It's not with dollar. India and Russia are trading too, to a certain degree, although they're using dollar overwhelmingly, but to a certain degree, they're trading outside of the dollar. So from 2011 till today, the global rate of trading with dollar has dropped. They killed the man Gaddafi. They did not kill his vision. They may have killed the man Gaddafi. They did not kill his vision. Compared in 2011, when NATO killed Gaddafi and destroyed Libya, right? In 2011, that rate of global transaction of dollar there to today is completely different. See, even Iran is having negotiations with China and Russia. Do you understand? So even first of all, this whole thing about de-dollarization, the United States set it in motion when it weaponized the dollar. Because once you have made your dollar a weapon, everybody's going to avoid it. So all these things that they tried to do to get rid of Gaddafi, the de-dollarization, it just so turned out that they helped Gaddafi achieve his vision when they weaponized their dollar. So that is one part of the United States and Gaddafi's story. But the second part of Gaddafi's vision was the economic liberation of Africa. Now, I know that the major reason why the economic liberation of Africa hasn't happened is because of the leaders we have. In fact, many African leaders, most of the leaders in Africa are just custodians of neocolonialism. They are not there to help their respective nations. No, they are there to do the bidding of the outsiders that put them in office. Or, like we usually say, they are puppets. So that's one of the things that I've been thinking about lately. How do we as Africans, right, move on to, because why I'm bringing this up now is one of this past week, there's this political commentator. He's involved in politics, but also comments on politics in, I believe it's Zambia. He has been having a series of tweets that is highlighting the craziness of the kind of policies that many African countries have been involved in. For example, he would say that Angola is the biggest producer of oil in Southern Africa, yet Zambia is importing oil from the UAE. Then he would say that given African countries, although he's focusing on Southern Africa, but sometimes he also mentions East Africa and other parts. You may say, oh, Kenya is the biggest producer of coffee, right? Yet we're importing coffee from blah blah blah. So he's been saying that, and what that makes me realize is, and I'm not the first person saying it, he is not the first person saying it. This is something that has been in the African political conversation for a very long time, for decades now. So what he's highlighting is, how is it that we have those resources, yet we are so ever willing to import from outsiders? And like I said, it's because first of all, we have not worked on intra-Africa trade, and we have politicians and leaders who are doing the bidding of the outsiders that put them in office. So that's why I've been asking myself, so if we are still waiting for, if we keep waiting for many of these leaders, nothing is going to come out of it, right? We are going to find ourselves waiting for another 10 decades, another 2 decades, another 3 decades, and wasting unnecessary time. So how can we as Africans boost trade within each other first? How can we as Africans pull straight within each other before we now get into a political space to turn it in the right direction. So these are thoughts that have been coming to my mind, questions that I've been asking myself for some weeks now, and I haven't gotten an answer. So I'm pushing it over to you. Let me know in the comment section below, how can we help fulfill the other arm of Gaddafi's vision, that is the economic liberation of Africa? We know we have to do it with our politics, right? Our leaders will have to get it done. But in the meantime, how can we as the people take steps in that direction before we get to the leaders to completely change everything? So let me know what your thoughts are about how we can navigate this challenge in the comment section below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with everybody you know, your family, your friends, so we can bring our heads together to think of innovative ways for the economic liberation of Africa. And if you want to support the work that I'm doing here, the Buy Me a Coffee link is in the description and it's also on the screen. Thank you.